Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's world's most exciting classroom event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. We are on our 46th world's most exciting classroom as Oosterschelde makes its way around the world with the DARWIN200 team. By the time all the dust settles in July 2025, there will have been over 100 of these live connections as the ship sails around the planet following Charles Darwin's voyage of the Beagle. We have a great 30-minute event in store for today. We're going to connect with the team on the ship. We'll have Tom and Maria joining us. They're going to talk a little bit about some of the dives they were just able to do on some beautiful coral in Tahiti. And then we have Avery, a Darwin Leader Avery, joining us, and he is going to talk about the project he was working on in Santiago, Chile. So lots to get to. Before we jump into it, though, I want to share the map. We'll just take a quick look at where the Oosterschelde is right now. So if we play around a little bit, you can see the destination. So we're not too far away. You can see that the ship is diverted off its course. And of course, why not? There's these beautiful coral atolls here. It just makes sense to go and check those out. So we've got a couple little clips here. Got a nice little sunset one here. And then you can see that they're having a little bit of fun there out on the water. We got our nice little pink flamingo floaty floating next to the Oosterschelde. So you can see where we are, a few days away, I think, from Moria first, and then to Papeete, where there'll be a short turnaround, and then a nice little jaunt through some of these islands and through some of the coral, a circuit. And hopefully we'll get some great footage, some dives and other things from those explorations. All right, let's come back from that screen share and let's get to the main event. On board the ship, we have Tom and Maria joining us. Hey, Tom. Hey, Maria. How are you?
Hey,
Oh, good, thank you.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Sitting on deck, sailing.
I would say so. You've got some beautiful sailing. It looks sunny. And the videos that I just saw of the dives you did, was that yesterday?
Day before.
Day before.
Yeah, we set sail again yesterday, and we'll be in Moria tomorrow morning, where we will be continuing the diving.
Excellent. Well, I can't wait to see the new video footage, but let's get to the current video footage. It's amazing. And we'll start off with a clip, Maria, of you doing some of the coral transects. So I'm going to get it loaded up. And then if you want to talk us through a little bit of, where you were and what you're doing during these transects. So here we go.
Yeah, so this is on the outer barrier of Fakarava, one of the biggest atolls. Actually, it's the biggest atoll in French Polynesia. And what we were doing is a stretch of coral at 10 meters and again at 5 meters. Here, measuring up the concentration of coral for each meter. We do 3 types of transect. This one is the first one is like a video transect where we follow the measuring tape, just filming the different species, and then again with a fish count, so how many species are living in that stretch of coral. And then finally we take pictures for every single meter. We have this little frame we put on top, and that's going to show us the status of the reef now. Once we go through the data, we will be counting different species of coral and fish, but also how it's coming back. And you can see on this video here all the little cauliflower looking coral. That's all new, not this one, but I'll tell you. Okay, anyway, so in February there was a huge storm out here. They get massive tropic storms and it rips up the whole coral reef more or less. But you see, already now when we did the transect, we realized that there's so much new coral coming back and it grows very fast. So in a couple of months you have the reef back and theming and reproducing. I hope you're gonna have a last little clip on all the little baby corals. Ooh, this was exciting. So it's kind of hard to focus while you're doing the coral transect because the diving is so good out here. So we had these great reef sharks circling around, and they're beautiful and high concentration of numbers out here, which is actually why you would conclude that the reef is super, super healthy. The more sharks there is, the more healthy a food chain. And they were not scared of us at all. So we were very fortunate to come this close. I mean, look at that beauty. the fish underneath it, you can see there's a little fish just south of the mouth. That's a remora. That's a sucking fish. He will follow along with the shark and eat any scrap that the shark is missing.
All right, that's absolutely amazing. If I'm looking at the videos, you can tell that there's a group. How many would you say were around you at any given time?
Of sharks?
Yeah.
On that dive, it was only 3 or so, I think.
Yeah, they were up in the shallows as well. You could see they were just going back and forth up there. But these 3 were around us, yeah. But the next dive, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to play that in a second, but I want to share one little image here. This will give people an idea of. Oh, did that come up? It did not. Let me try that again. Funny. It says it's sharing, but I don't. Okay, maybe it's not going to let me. The controls are really slow on my end, but that's okay. I'll try again after the next video. So why don't I play that next video? Because Tom, you've got some great the fish life, the predators. So let's take a look at that next video.
So this video is a combination of 2 separate dives we did. There was one we did again on the outer reef of Fakarava, and then again, I think you'll see it more towards the end of the video when we actually went through the pass.
The stunning thing about the reef out here is that there's no fear in the fish. Normally when you go diving and you approach fish, they will be swimming away. But out here, they just continue their life. They do not care. And this is actually a nice picture where you can see the food chain from the bottom of the corals with all its snails and crabs and little critters. And then on top you have the medium-sized reef fish, like this trumpet fish, cornet fish. And then above that you will have the bigger jacks and barracudas and tunas. And oh, this is great. This is all the little baby coral. You see every brown little lump. That's a new coral that has sprung out from February. And this guy is very happy about that because he eats them. That's a parrotfish with very, very hard teeth, and he will go and break off the coral.
These guys were always swimming around with us as well, with the Napoleon wrasse. And when they're swimming towards you, it's a little intimidating. The size of these things is humongous.
They're very, very chilled.
Yeah. Always keeping an eye on you, though.
Yeah, they're quite curious.
Yeah.
It's very cool. And look behind him, all that fish. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't get more healthy than this. This is a perfect example of a perfect coral reef with the whole food chain completely intact. And look at that, they don't care.
I think some of these fish in the front are actually like probably 10 centimeters away from the front of my camera.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is actually the pass getting into the actual atoll. So there's larger currents here.
Which is also why you can see the coral reef is not as flourishing. That's because on the outgoing tide, it will carry sand from the lagoon, only in this stretch. Oh, look at this.
While I was filming this, I was so focused on the camera, I had to take a few moments every now and then to look up and just like see what was going on. And every time I did, my mind was just completely blown by the sheer quantity of fish and the sharks just swimming around it. It was crazy.
You asked how many sharks there were. It was impossible to count because when you were looking inside the school of fish like Tom is right now, they just kept popping out. So it's, yeah, absolutely breathtaking.
And that was actually considered the less sharky dive site of Fakarava. When we return on the 22nd, we're hoping to go to the South Pass, where they have a wall of between 500 and 700 sharks, I think it is.
Yeah.
So excited for that.
And that's going to be inside a marine park as well. What we were diving was not a regulated area, which just shows to tell that it is even more perfect than one could have dreamed of. It's so interesting to see the difference from Mangareva to here as well.
Yeah. Did you see any evidence of human like plastic or anything? Was there any evidence of human impact where you were?
In Fakarava?
Yeah.
Not really at all. I mean, not even from fishing, from people fishing the fish, because they were not scared of us. They would have. They learn pretty fast, those fish, even though we say they remember stuff, but they do. Like no, nothing. Even at the anchor points out on the outer bank, it was perfect condition around the coral. So this is as good as it gets. We're very happy.
Yeah, I'll stay. And this is what's so amazing right now is, Maria, you'll be hopefully diving for a little bit more over the next little while. And then Tom, as the ship continues on, you guys are going through Cook Islands, Tonga, Fiji. There should be some great opportunities to get into the water and see what's going on beneath the waves. Pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to that, for sure.
Yeah. So Maria, the transects that you're doing, they form a baseline so that when people come back in the future, they can kind of take a look at the reef. Do GPS kind of waypoints of where you explored, or is it more of a general thing when people come back in the future?
We try and do it as correctly or as what do you call it, accurate as possible, because the ideal thing would be that whoever comes back to continue the coral transect or follow up on it here can dive the exact same patch of coral reef. Naturally, it's a little bit hard underwater to be completely right here. There's no GPS satellite connection down there, but we do on the surface take a pinpoint, and then we dive down and we find something. Like on this last dive, there was a moray buoy. Hopefully that's going to be there for the next couple of years as well. And then taking a compass heading and finding a depth, you should be able to find the spot within a meter. That should be possible.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, some of those shots, it looked like you just went to an aquarium and jumped in. That's usually when you're in an aquarium, you see all those fish all packed together. But that was right there on a beautiful, beautiful, healthy reef. You were saying, Maria, before we went live, that this recovery is happening really fast.
Yeah, that's so the coral transect will be useful for the future as well, but it's also useful for the here and now situation. They had a big storm, like I said, and in February, much of the reef that we were swimming on had been ripped up by that storm. And doing the transect now just makes sense, because you can already measure the coral growth within these 6 months or 4 months even. And also how fast life is coming back inside the corals. So the coral transect is not just for the future, it's also a very much here and now picture of a perfect coral reef.
Yeah, amazing. Well, the next researchers we have coming on board, they're grown 3D map the coral from above. So that should be really cool to see how they're able to do that. And then Maria, what's your plan? Are you sticking around for a little bit? Are you going to dive? What's your plan after the ship reaches Papeete?
Well, actually, I am gonna go back to Fakarava, down to the South Pass with all the sharks, because it will be valuable to have a transect of the coral down there as well. And then the dream is to go and visit the coral gardening farms here in Tahiti. So we've been growing forest on land for thousands of years, but coral, that's a new thing that we're growing, but it's actually proving very sustainable and quite easy. And there are these coral in Tahiti who are having little nurseries where they plant baby coral, and then when the coral is big enough, they set them out on the open on the reef in the open ocean just to repopulate it. So we hope that we can go and do a bit of filming and interviewing that. We are creating a little documentary about what we're doing out here.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see the dives that you do in the coming days as well. And Tom, thanks for sending through that great footage. I know how hard it can be to focus while you're diving and just kind of what you're doing when there's so much going on around you. So good on you for being able to do that.
Cheers. Thank you.
All right. Well, good luck. Have some fun dives in the next few days. And I look forward to catching up next week to see where you are and what's going on.
Nice one. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Right.
Take care.
Thanks, Maria.
Bye.
See ya. All right. Well, there we go. Some beautiful, beautiful footage. as Oosterschelde is making its way to Papeete, and then it's going to do a circuit. So the next leg of the Darwin 200 is going to be a circuit through some of those atolls, through some of those coral islands. And I can only imagine there'll be more incredible footage for us to share in upcoming World's Most Exciting Classroom events. Now we're going to bring in our Darwin leader who's joining us from the US today. Avery Tilley is joining us, and he was in Santiago in Chile with the Darwin 200. So let's get him in here. Hey, Avery, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Joe?
Good, good. Joining us from Georgia today. How's things in Georgia?
It's nice and hot here. Well, pretty humid too.
Very good. Well, Avery, before we jump into your project, why don't you take a moment, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Yeah, my name's Avery. I am currently a veterinary student here in the United States. I study wildlife conservation medicine, so looking at ways that we can help mitigate and monitor wildlife diseases in animals, both to protect them and also from what we call a One Health perspective. So trying to make sure that animals are healthy to keep people healthy. We don't want any more spillover diseases like COVID-19 or other things to happen in the near future. We want to kind of keep those at wraps. So that's kind of mostly what I do and what most of my research is around.
All right. And how did you connect with Darwin 200? Where did you learn of the project? How did you get pulled in?
Yeah, I participate in a group called Reserva, the Youth Land Trust. We are an NGO that is all run by youth, and we protect tracts of rainforest in Ecuador. And some of my fellow members there kind of pointed me out to the Darwin 200, had heard about it, and thought that I would be a good fit. So I applied, got accepted, and like Joe said, I was down in Santiago just a few months ago, and it was amazing.
All right. Well, small world. Callie's a good friend of mine, so I'm glad that connection is making things like that happen. We've been able to host a lot of some of the youth who work with Reserva, and it's great work. So I'm glad you're able to have this Darwin 200 experience. And tell us a bit about your project, because it really kind of fits in nicely with the One Health work that you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. So when I was down in Santiago, primary work was actually looking at the impact of dogs on some coastal wetlands in Chile. And so they have been really struggling in kind of this two-factor issue, which you'll see in my video, of both feral dogs that don't belong to anyone, that are kind of rooting around in wetlands, disturbing the ecosystem, and particularly preying on a lot of migratory birds that use the wetlands to nest. And then also dogs that do belong to people, but those folks just leave their dog unleashed. They kind of let the dog run around through the wetland, again, sometimes attacking and killing birds, and just kind of causing a general disturbance. So my project was trying to document that, the disturbances that we were seeing from these dogs in the wetlands, and then help a local NGO, they are called Fundación Kennedy in Chile, who protects wetlands, come up with some unique strategies and some different ways to try and combat this really complicated issue of having the dogs in the wetlands.
All right. Well, I say we get right into it. Let's play the video, and then we'll have a few questions after that. So I'm just going to cue it up here on my end. Screen share is cooperating, so that's good. And here we go.
Wetlands. A rich, woven tapestry of life, where a delicate dance unfolds, weaving together the stories of countless species. These unique ecosystems exist when land is covered in water, either permanently or seasonally. And while they cover only 6% of our planet's surface, over 40% of animal and plant species live or breed in wetlands. My name is Avery Tilley, and I am here in central Chile with Darwin 200 to explore and uncover problems facing coastal wetlands in the country. Across Chile, there are more than 40,000 wetlands, from the high Andes to the fjords of Patagonia. These ecosystems are abundant and diverse. I have come to the small, vibrant coastal town of Algarrobo to look further into the state of Chile's wetlands, the species that inhabit them, and the communities that are left fighting to protect them. This is El Membrillo, a 20-acre urban wetland along the coast of central Chile. It is teeming with life. The calling birds, buzzing dragonflies, and splashing frogs seem to invite you to sit and stay a while. Wetlands like El Membrillo are vital for our planet and for their local communities. They help prevent flooding, decrease erosion, purify water, sink carbon, and provide critical habitat for many species of plants and animals.
Sí, bueno, la importancia del humedal es, en el fondo, lo que cambia la vida cuando uno conoce estas cosas y la naturaleza. Después de vivir toda nuestra vida en Santiago, en el cemento, vivir aquí y preocuparse de naturaleza, de ver naturaleza, de ver aves, de buscar cómo esas aves se respeten, es un cambio de vida que te estimula.
Wetlands like El Membrillo are not just life-changing for their human visitors, but their avian visitors as well. Each year, thousands of migratory birds arrive in these wetlands to nest and rear young, like this American oyster catcher, or pilpilin in Spanish.
Conocemos el humedal, creo que fue una de las cosas que más nos enamoró de Algarrobo, los diferentes humedales que hay acá y la diferente variedad de aves y el ecosistema como tal. Y sí, la verdad que visitamos cada cierto tiempo cada uno porque nos gusta observar con tranquilidad, conocer un poco más de las aves y el entorno, y es muy lindo.
El Membrillo exists as a haven for nature in the midst of a bustling tourism hub, teetering on the edge of succumbing to the growing city surrounding it. And it's not alone. The urbanization of Chile's coastline has left many wetlands destroyed or diminished. Of those which remain, they become more isolated and more subject to the threats of the expanding human population around them. Issues such as pollution and the introduction of invasive species can lead to even further loss. Even more so, urbanization and development have brought a new issue: dogs.
Como que este año particularmente hemos visto al menos 10 perros sueltos en la calle de tamaño grande, que por supuesto que un perro con hambre va a tener la necesidad de cazar y de quizás afectar el ecosistema.
Feral dogs in Algarrobo are often seen in the wetland by community members, and so is their aftermath. Bird carcasses litter the wetland here, an easy food source for hungry feral dogs. But it's not just feral dogs causing problems in El Membrillo.
Sueltan los perros, destruyen nidos, cazan a las aves que están en el espejo de agua que está ahí, se meten los perros al agua y las cazan. Y tú... Es difícil eso porque van en el atavismo del perro, eso de cazar y todo. Entonces, ese es el daño que hacen, ¿me entiendes tú? El daño más grande.
También este lugar es zona de descanso de aves migratorias. Hay épocas del año donde grandes cantidades de aves se posan ahí. Los perros las persiguen. Entonces están descansando las aves y los perros las persiguen, las hacen volar. Y vuelan bandadas, grandes cantidades de aves que tienen que volar porque los perros las están gozando.
The behavior Miguel describes is common, where tourists from across Chile visit Algarrobo walking their unleashed dogs, who likely disturb the wetland even more than their feral counterparts. As such, the issue of dogs in these wetlands is complex, with both feral dogs hunting birds and unleashed dogs disrupting nesting and migratory species. The people of Algarrobo are now left in the struggle of protecting their wetlands in the face of a growing community.
All right. Those drone shots were really powerful, really showing, starting off at the wetland, then pulling back to see just how kind of hemmed in they are by people and urbanization. And yeah, it must have been hard to see these spaces being squeezed out like that.
Yeah, it was different. When I didn't know exactly what to expect when I got there, I knew I'd be working somewhat in wetlands, but wasn't exactly sure where or, like I said, what to expect. So it was a bit of a shocker to see such a small area, but also such a biodiverse area. We counted like over 40 species of birds in these really small wetlands. So you could tell that there was a lot of activity here. But again, there's just this encroaching pressure from all sides.
Yeah. What were there any highlight species for you that you were able to see in the wild?
There was a couple of new species for me. The oyster catchers were really cool. You saw those in the video, just really vivid birds that the community really likes. And then there are swans as well, which are a native species of swan in Chile that, again, are just, the community really enjoys them, likes seeing them each year when they nest and have their babies. And, you can track that. So the community is always very invested in how many of their chicks survive every year and things like that.
Yeah. So your next couple of videos, one focuses on, the work being done now. The other looks towards the future. So can you give us a sneak peek? What is some of the things that the local organization you were paired up with is doing to try to mitigate this issue?
Yeah. Some of the biggest work that they're doing on the ground right now is just trying to build those relationships with community members even more so. Because that organization, Foundation Kennedy, is kind of countrywide. They have now started investing in actually sponsoring like a staff member in each zone. So the 2 wetlands I talked about in my video actually just got a kind of full-time staff person who is based there in the community of Algarobo, who's able to address concerns with community residents and kind of be that focal person. So with that person, we were really trying to go from there and now jump off into a lot of really cool education opportunities, things like signage. Again, some of the folks that you saw in the video, that Miguel and Sari that were interviewed, they kind of have this beautiful property that overlooks one of the wetlands. So they've been a great resource for Foundation Kennedy because they're able to tell them when they see dogs and tell them when they see things that are going on. So again, just kind of starting off with growing that community and building those relationships and then using that as like a springboard to do lots of other cool work and hopefully bring in even more people.
All right. And I'm curious if they find that, sometimes it can be as simple as education. People don't realize that their dogs are such an issue. Do they find that education is a really effective tool?
Yeah, education is definitely super effective for the leashing dogs. And they've had a lot of success now that they have folks there that are able to kind of confront people who may be walking unleashed dogs and kind of give them an idea of what impact that might cause. And then the other side of the coin, the feral dog issue is definitely more like a municipality, a governmental issue. And so again, just trying to keep pressure on the local government. They know it's a problem, but they just have limited funding and limited resources is kind of always their fallback. So just trying to keep pressure on them to counteract that feral dog issue and do whatever they can from kind of that governmental standpoint.
Yeah. And from your time there, getting to be on the ground, seeing the issue firsthand, seeing the work being done, what do you think are things they can do to look towards the future?
I would say some big things in the future for the community. It's actually really interesting now that we're talking about it. They just had a huge flood in this community, maybe like 2 weeks ago. And it was a big deal because the wetlands took on a lot of the water from the flooding, but there was still some spillover into the community, into some of those large hotels and resorts that you kind of saw from the drone footage. And so that's been a really big push, from what I understand, for Foundation Kennedy in the last 2 weeks, is, again, just showing the community and showing the local government, like, hey, wetlands are important for so many reasons. The birds is one thing, and that is kind of the biggest issue with the dogs. But again, like I kind of mentioned in the video, erosion control and flood mitigation and these big, huge topics that we see a lot are super important for wetlands. So I think going forward, the biggest things for Foundation Kennedy will be to just increase their education initiatives, hopefully through some signage, We talked about doing some really cool like local community made signage that discusses some issues about importance of wetlands and importance of migratory birds. And then again, kind of building the community around the wetlands. So maybe some fun wetland themed events or wetland cleanup days, those kinds of things to help inspire the community to be more involved and have kind of more of a stake in the game for these wetlands that do a lot for their community, so they want to return the favor.
All right. And Avery, before we let you go, what's next for you? Do you have any trips to the field coming up? Another semester of school? What's going on with you?
Yeah, about to get back to the grind here and start classes again in just a few weeks. But after that, I am involved in another project in Madagascar with some geckos and translocating geckos over there that are really in need of some help. They occur in like less than 2 hectares of land, and it's about to all get logged for a mining company. So hopefully be over there in December doing some exciting work to save a critically endangered species that was discovered in 1994. So that's what's on the table for me, Joe.
All right. Well, Avery, we'll have to connect again when you get back. We'll have you join us in another World's Most Exciting Classroom. You can share your work in Madagascar, and hopefully we hear that it's successful.
Sounds good. Thanks so much for having me. It was great to hop on today.
All right. Thanks so much, Avery. Have a great rest of your summer, and good luck back in class.
Take care. Bye.
All right. See ya. Okay. Well, we are at that stage where we are close to wrapping up this week's World's Most Exciting Classroom event. We have to do our curiosity of the week. So last week we had a curiosity. Let's take a look at the answer to last week's curiosity.
Back everyone. Last week's question was to try and identify this strange fossil. Many of you sent in answers. Did you guess it correctly? Well, it's actually a belemnite. It's a type of cephalopod. That's the group of animals that today includes the octopus, the nautilus, and squids and cuttlefish. Belemnites weren't squids, they were completely different, but in a way you can think of them as similar. They had little tentacles and arms that came out the bottom, and much of the body was encased in this hard shell, known as a guard. In some species, there were chambers within the guard, and you can see those here in this fossil that I've got. Did you guess it correctly? Let's now go back to Joe.
All right, so there we go. Stuart coming to us from the Darwin studio in Poole in the UK with our curiosity of the week, and we have a brand new curiosity for this week. So let me bring it up here and let's take a look at this week's curiosity.
Welcome back everyone. This week's curiosity are these incredible crystals. Look really closely at them and see their amazing shape. Can you identify what element this is? The crystal shape is a clue. It's very, very distinctive. Have a look online and see if you can find out. Send in your best guess to classroom@darwin200.com for a chance to win a £50 Amazon gift voucher prize. Join next week to find out the identity of this amazing crystal. Good luck and thank you for taking part.
All right, so as always, there is 1 week to try and identify that curiosity of the week, and you want to send your guesses to classroom@darwin200.com. So there it is, classroom@darwin200.com. You have until next week, Thursday, to send in your best guesses for what this week's curiosity is. All right, well, we did it. Pretty close to 30 minutes today. What a great connection with the ship. I'm so jealous of the diving that they're doing right now. Fakarava looked absolutely amazing. And it's nice to see pristine coral reef when we hear so many stories about ocean acidification, temperatures rising, coral bleaching around the world, over 50% of our coral lost. It's nice to know there are still some pristine places in our ocean, and to see the resiliency. As Maria mentioned, last February, there was a storm that damaged a lot of the coral, but they saw a lot of evidence of new coral growing back strong and rather quickly. So it's great to see that resiliency of our ocean if we leave it alone and we give it some space. So the last thing we need to do before we wrap up today is to thank our sponsors, our partners, our supporters, without whom we wouldn't be sailing around the world. We wouldn't be bringing young Darwin leaders to different ports to help them gain skills for future conservation careers, and we wouldn't be doing our weekly World's Most Exciting Classroom. So I'm going to sign off for this week and say goodbye, and we'll wrap up with this little thank you to our sponsors, our supporters, and partners.